The moment shattered the room like a gunshot. Gasps rippled through the pews, guests rising from their seats in disbelief. The chapel, once hushed in reverent anticipation, exploded into chaos. "I can't marry you, Marcus." Her voice was clear, cutting through the stunned silence like a blade. She stood in her gown, a perfect veil cascading down her back, face painted in soft tears and sharp resolve. Her hand trembled, not from nerves, but something colder. She dropped the bouquet with a soft thud against the marble floor. What are you doing, Hannah?" Marcus's voice cracked. His smile, wide and boyish just moments ago, had collapsed into confusion, pain. She looked back only once, lips trembling. "I'm sorry." Then, in full view of everyone, his mother sobbing, the groomsmen frozen, the minister clutching his Bible, Hannah stepped back, turned, and walked down the aisle alone. And standing just outside the chapel doors, leaning against a sleek black car, was her ex-fiancé, Cole Winters, Marcus's old rival. Older, wealthier. Smirking, Hannah walked to him. She took his hand. They drove off. And in that moment, Marcus knew something was terribly, impossibly wrong. But no one, not even Marcus, could have imagined how deep the betrayal went, or what it had cost. Because the offer Hannah took came with blood. 2 years earlier, Marcus Hale never thought he'd be anything more than a kid from Indiana trying to outlive his past. He wasn't rich, not even close, but he was kind. He believed in waking up early, working hard, and keeping his promises. He paid his mother's rent, helped his little brother get into college, and volunteered at the local youth center in Chicago, where he'd moved for better job opportunities. And when he met Hannah Peters, smart, strong, with eyes like summer storms, he thought, maybe good things can happen to people like me. They met at a laundromat. Both of them had shrunk something they shouldn't have. They laughed, swapped detergent, and shared a vending machine sandwich when the dryers took too long. They started dating. It wasn't flashy. Cheap coffee, secondhand bookstores, whispered jokes on the train. She was a social worker, weary but passionate. He worked IT for a law firm, often late hours but steady pay. They were good for each other. Balanced. She softened his edges, and he steadied her storms. 6 months in, Marcus said, "I love you," while waiting for their bus in the rain. She didn't say it back. Not right away, but she kissed him like she meant it. By the time she did say it, they were apartment hunting. But love, no matter how strong, doesn't erase the past. Especially when it wears a Rolex and drives a Tesla. Cole Winters entered their lives like poison wrapped in velvet. Marcus first heard the name when he found an old box while rearranging the closet. Letters, printed emails, a few photographs. One of them showed Hannah with her arm around a tall, striking man in a gray suit. He asked about it gently. "Oh," she said, brushing her hair back. "That's Cole. My ex. We were together a long time ago." "How long?" "Almost 4 years." He tried not to flinch. "Why'd you break up?" Hannah's eyes flicked to the window. "Because I wasn't interested in being someone's pretty possession." She didn't elaborate. He didn't press. But the next week, she got a phone call during dinner. Her face went pale. She stepped outside to take it. She was gone 23 minutes. When she came back, her smile was forced, and she didn't finish her meal. A few days later, Marcus saw her scrolling something on her phone. A luxury real estate listing. Planning to win the lottery? He joked. She laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. She turned the phone face down. Still, life moved forward. They got engaged quietly in March. No big proposal. Just a moment on the couch, her in sweatpants, him with a plastic ring box and a shaking voice. She said yes. Said she wanted forever with him. They set the date for the following spring. But things started changing. She became distant, sometimes waking up in the middle of the night to check her phone. She kept secrets, not maliciously, but quietly. He started finding receipts in her coat pockets. Cafes he didn't recognize, rideshare drop-offs in neighborhoods she never mentioned. One night, while she was in the shower, Marcus picked up her phone when it buzzed. He wasn't proud of it. The message was simple. "Have you thought more about what I said?" The clock's ticking. See, he didn't ask her about it that night. Or the next. But it hollowed something inside him. The next weekend, he noticed her putting on more makeup than usual before grabbing drinks with coworkers. "Which coworkers?" he asked. She hesitated. "Rachel and some of the newer ones." He nodded, kissed her forehead, and pretended to believe her. That night, he stayed up waiting. She came home smelling like expensive cologne. Not his. He didn't accuse her. He wasn't sure what he feared more, that she was lying or that she wasn't. 3 weeks before the wedding, they took their engagement photos. She smiled for the camera, but her fingers trembled in his hand. 2 weeks before the wedding, a man in a suit came to Marcus's office. Marcus Hale? Yeah. I have a message for you. From a friend of Hannah's. The man handed him an envelope. No return address. Inside, a single photograph. Hannah, sitting across from Cole at a rooftop bar. Her hand was on his wrist. Marcus felt the ground tilt beneath him. He didn't tell her. He couldn't. Instead, he doubled down. Tried harder. Took on overtime to pay for the honeymoon. He bought her favorite flowers every Friday. Booked a last-minute couples massage just to see her smile. But she only smiled with her lips, not her eyes. 1 week before the wedding, he found her crying in the bathroom. She said it was just stress. The night before the wedding, he called his brother. Do you think she still loves me? You're getting married tomorrow, man. That's not what I asked. But he never got an answer. And then came the wedding day. He stood at the altar, heart pounding, ties slightly askew. And she walked toward him like a dream. Until she stopped. Until she said those words. Until she walked away. And now, he sat alone in a room filled with wilted flowers and unanswered questions, shaking, trying to piece it together. What could Cole have possibly offered her? What could make her leave like that? And what did the message mean? The clock's ticking. That night, Marcus went home to their apartment. The door was unlocked. Inside, it looked ransacked. But nothing was stolen. Just one thing was missing. Her. And on the bed, one item remained. A burner phone. One missed call. Blocked number. He picked it up. It rang again. He answered. No voice. Just static. And then, a single line, distorted and cold. You should have walked away, Marcus. The line went dead. And Marcus realized. This wasn't just heartbreak. This was a warning. A threat. And maybe, just maybe, a murder in the making. The wind howled outside the apartment, rattling the thin window panes. The burner phone sat on the kitchen table like a bomb, silent now, but radiating menace. Marcus stared at it, every muscle in his body tense, trying to breathe through the shock. His fiancée had just left him at the altar. His life had crumbled in a matter of minutes. And now, with one cryptic message, it was clear, this wasn't about heartbreak. This was something much darker. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he pored over every detail of the last 3 months, replaying conversations, noticing every red flag he'd ignored, every lie Hannah had told. At 3:17 a.m., he called her cell, straight to voicemail. He checked her email. Deactivated. Her Instagram? Deleted. She was gone. Not just from his life. From everywhere. And the only person who might have answers was Cole Winters. But Cole wasn't the kind of man you just called. Cole was a name whispered in law circles, a former real estate tycoon turned philanthropist, with a portfolio full of shell companies and a past full of rumors. Some said he was connected to at least 2 mysterious disappearances tied to shady investments overseas. Cole was dangerous. And now he had Hannah. Or maybe he always had her. Marcus went to the police the next morning. He brought the burner phone, the picture, the letter. The officer on duty, a young guy with a thin mustache and an overfed belly, took a cursory look and gave Marcus a tight smile. She left you. That's not a crime. What about the threatening call? No voicemail. No name. Could have been a prank. Maybe you're just upset and reading into things. I think she's in danger. The cop shrugged. Then maybe she'll file a report. He handed Marcus a brochure for grief counseling. Marcus left the station shaking with frustration. He knew he had to find her himself. 2 days later, Marcus went to see someone who would understand the shadows Cole moved in. Travis Kimball, an investigative reporter who once exposed a state senator's bribery scheme using only burner phones and bar receipts. Travis owed Marcus a favor. They met at an old diner on the edge of Logan Square. Travis lit a cigarette. He wasn't allowed to smoke indoors. You sure you want to look into Winters? He plays dirtier than Chicago politics. You could end up vanished. I don't care, Marcus said. I just want the truth. Travis leaned back. You don't want the truth, Marcus. You want her back. No, Marcus said quietly. Not if she made this choice willingly. Travis nodded. Then you better be ready to dig through some real filth. He slid a notepad across the table. Scribbled on it, Bridget Vale. Ask about the Barbados project. Who's she? Marcus asked. Cole's ex-business partner. She disappeared from the public eye 6 years ago after a falling out. Last I heard, she lives off-grid near Joliet. If anyone knows the skeletons in his closet, it's her. Marcus pocketed the note. As he left the diner, his phone buzzed. His real one. Blocked number. He froze. He answered. This time, the voice wasn't static. It was low, raspy. Male. You should stop digging. Marcus's spine stiffened. Who is this? Don't matter. But keep going, and you'll end up like Daniel Knox. The line clicked dead. Marcus didn't recognize the name. Yet, but something told him he'd just been given a second breadcrumb. 2 days later, he found Bridget Vale. She lived in a battered trailer in the woods behind an abandoned strip mall. The place looked like it hadn't seen visitors in years. She answered the door with a rifle. Not a step closer. Please, Marcus said, raising his hands. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm looking for answers about Cole Winters. I think he did something to my fiancée. She stared at him a long time. You're the boy she left. You know about that? Bridget lowered the gun. Come inside. The trailer smelled like old smoke and fear. Photos lined the walls, newspapers, sticky notes, maps connected with red thread. Barbados Project, Marcus said, recognizing the name from Travis's note. Bridget poured 2 cups of instant coffee. That's where it all started. Offshore development, money laundering, human trafficking. But the worst was what he did to keep it hidden. She pulled out a photo. A man in his 30s, clean-shaven, sharp eyes. Daniel Knox. Underwriter. Found out Cole was forging land deeds. Tried to back out. Disappeared 6 months before the first resort opened. Marcus remembered the name from the phone call. He was your friend? More than that. He was my partner. And the last person who tried to stop Cole from hurting someone. Bridget turned and opened a box from under the couch. Inside, a stack of burner phones. A journal. Photos. And a flash drive. Everything I have on him. I've been building this case for years, but I'm too scared to release it. People like Cole don't go down with lawsuits. She hesitated. But maybe they fall when you burn the whole system around them. Marcus took the flash drive with shaking hands. You're going to need help, she said. And protection. Can you give me either? No, she said grimly. But I can give you a name. She scribbled another note. Detective Lila Mason. Trust her. She lost someone too. Marcus stood. As he walked to the door, Bridget added, if you want to see how deep this rabbit hole goes, look up what happened to Hannah's sister. Marcus froze. Hannah doesn't have a sister. Bridget's eyes narrowed. Then she's lying to you. Because 3 years ago, her sister disappeared. And she was last seen with Cole. Marcus felt the floor disappear beneath him. He stepped out into the night. The flash drive felt like a bomb in his pocket. And suddenly, it was no longer about heartbreak, betrayal, or love. It was about survival and justice. That night, Marcus locked all his doors and shut every blind in his apartment. He opened the flash drive and found dozens of documents, legal agreements, offshore transfers, surveillance footage, and one folder labeled Winters, the Failures. Inside were photos, faces, names. One made his blood run cold. It was Hannah, but not as Hannah. It was a driver's license photo. Name, Sarah Peters. Date of birth, same day, same year. Different first name, different past. And the file marked her as asset number 4, pending acquisition. What did that mean? Why was her identity altered? Before he could open the next file, the power in his apartment went out. Total darkness. A car pulled up outside. Marcus moved to the window and peeked through a slit in the curtain. A black SUV. 2 men stepped out. One of them lit a cigarette. The other pulled something from his coat. Not a phone. A gun. Marcus stepped back, heart hammering. He grabbed the flash drive, the burner phone, and bolted down the back stairwell in the dark. As he reached the alley, he heard the door upstairs burst open. They were inside. He ran. He didn't stop until he was 3 blocks away, hiding in the stairwell of a closed library. He clutched the flash drive like his life depended on it, because it probably did. And somewhere out there was Hannah, or Sarah, or whatever her real name was. She wasn't just running from love. She was running from something much, much worse. And Marcus? He was no longer a groom. He was the last witness to a crime that hadn't even been solved yet. A crime still in progress. The library stairwell was cold and reeked of mildew, but Marcus didn't move for hours. He sat curled against the concrete wall, his back pressed to the corner, one hand gripping the flash drive, the other clutching the burner phone like a lifeline. Every time headlights passed outside, he held his breath. When dawn broke, he finally dared to move. He needed to disappear, but more importantly, he needed to find Detective Lila Mason, the woman Bridget said he could trust. He took a bus across the city, ducked into a crowded cafe, and searched her name on a public Wi-Fi network, using an old laptop from the youth center where he used to volunteer. There she was, a former homicide detective turned private investigator after her teenage niece was murdered during a so-called accidental fire at a Cole Winters-owned halfway house. Marcus found her office address and took a cab, watching the city blur by like a bad dream. When he arrived, her building looked abandoned. Second floor, room 204. He knocked once, twice. The door creaked open. She stood there, early 40s, in a black hoodie and jeans. Her hair was short, dark, her eyes cold. "You Marcus Hale?" He nodded. "You're lucky you found me before they did." Her office was dim and cramped, papers stacked along every surface. A whiteboard displayed timelines and names. Cole Winters at the center, spidering out into dozens of other people. Marcus placed the flash drive on her desk. "I need help." "I know." Bridget called. "She's okay. For now. But she'll disappear again soon. She always does." Lila plugged in the drive, scrolling through the files in silence. When she saw the folder marked Winters, the failures, her jaw tightened. "Asset number 4, she murmured. "That's what he calls people he can't control. People who almost get out." Marcus pointed at the file labeled Sarah Peters. "She said her name was Hannah. She never mentioned a sister. Bridget said something happened to her." Lila pulled up a digital missing person report from 3 years ago. Name, Emily Peters. Hannah's younger sister. Age, 24 at the time of disappearance. Last seen entering Cole Winters' private jet. Case closed. Presumed deceased. Lila looked Marcus dead in the eyes. Cole didn't lure Hannah back with money. Marcus's stomach turned. "She went to him," Lila continued, "because he made her believe he'd tell her what happened to her sister. That's his thing. He owns people with grief. And she just left me there? At the altar. She made a deal," Lila said. "Not because she didn't love you. Because he convinced her it was the only way to get answers." Marcus leaned forward, his voice hoarse. "What kind of deal?" Lila turned the monitor to show him a contract, scanned and signed. It was labeled, Personal Compliance Agreement, Confidential Behavioral Reentry. It was signed by Sarah Peters. Under Cole's signature was a clause that made Marcus's blood run cold. In the event of non-compliance or public exposure, primary collateral will be neutralized. "Primary collateral?" he whispered. "You," Lila said flatly. "He means you." That evening, Lila drove them to a safe house on the south side of the city, a boarded-up church with a basement converted into a bunker of sorts. Bulletproof doors. No windows. Shortwave radio. "You'll stay here until I figure out our next move," she said. As they settled in, Marcus asked the question that had been burning inside him since he'd seen that photo. "What do you know about Hannah's real identity?" Lila hesitated. Then, Sarah Peters was placed in witness protection at 17. Her father was a mid-level money runner for one of Cole's early ventures. He flipped and got killed in prison. The feds buried the rest of the family in false identities to protect them. Hannah, Sarah, was one of them. "So she's been running her whole life." Lila nodded. "And Cole just found her again." Marcus sat on the edge of the cot, staring at the wall. "She never had a chance." "No," Lila said. "But now she's trying to fix what she couldn't back then." "And if she fails?" he asked. "She dies," Lila said, without emotion. "Or worse, disappears like the others." The next day, Marcus and Lila began combing through Cole's financial records. The deeper they dug, the clearer it became. Cole didn't just ruin lives. He erased them. Donations to charities that didn't exist. Property transfers between shell companies, all connected to silent disappearances. And in the middle of it all, the Veil Initiative, a supposed trauma recovery program for women and children. But the names listed in the enrollment records? Most had vanished. Marcus scrolled through the registry. There, buried 5 pages deep, was another familiar name. Emily Peters. She had been enrolled. 1 week later, her profile was marked transferred. But there was no location. Lila stared at the screen. "I've seen that term before. It's code. Transferred means removed. Probably sent to one of the off-book sites he runs internationally." Marcus clenched his fists. "So she's still alive?" "We don't know. But Hannah thought she was. That's why she went back, Lila said. She's trying to finish what Emily started. That night, Marcus woke to static on the shortwave radio. Then a voice. Faint. Female. Breathy. Is someone there? Please, it's Sarah. I don't have much time. Marcus lunged for the receiver. Hannah? Is that you? Silence. Then, louder. Don't trust anyone. They're watching you. I'm at the Vale compound. Mexico border. East of El Cenizo. Please, find me before. A harsh male voice cut in. What did I tell you about talking to ghosts? A scream. Then silence. The radio went dead. Marcus stood frozen, heart in his throat. She's alive, he whispered. Lila was already on her feet, grabbing a map. El Cenizo. That's Texas. She's near one of Cole's warehouses. You're going there, Marcus said. Aren't you? We're going, she replied. I'll prep a vehicle. We leave in the morning. At dawn, they hit the road. No GPS. No phones. Just old maps and coded radios. As they crossed into Texas 2 days later, Lila briefed Marcus on what they might find. The Vale compound was registered as a rehab center. But intel says it's a cover for extraction. Women are trafficked out under fake treatment protocols. And Hannah? If she's still alive, Lila said grimly. They'll kill her before they let her talk. Marcus stared out the window, fury boiling inside him. He had been played, betrayed, left at the altar. But none of it compared to the truth now clawing its way into the light. This wasn't just about lost love. This was a war, and he was going to burn every inch of it down to find her. That night, they stopped just 15 miles from the compound, sleeping in a safe house disguised as a feed store. Lila checked her weapon. Marcus paced. At 2:09 a.m., the floor creaked. Marcus turned. A man was standing in the shadows. Clean suit. Cold smile. Cole Winters. How the hell did you? I always know where my investments go, Cole said smoothly. Lila reached for her gun, but froze. Cole's men appeared behind him. 3. Armed. Cole walked forward. You've been very busy, Marcus. Digging, asking questions, meddling in matters far above your station. Marcus didn't speak. He stared into Cole's eyes, trying to see the devil behind the smile. I'll give you one chance, Cole said. Walk away. Forget her. Forget the files. You can live a long, quiet life. Marcus's voice was steady. Where is she? Cole's smile faded. Wrong answer. He nodded to his men. One of them raised a gun. Lila moved first. Gunfire tore through the walls. Chaos. Screams. Marcus ducked behind the table. The last thing he saw was Lila slumped on the floor. Bleeding. Unmoving. And Cole, vanishing into the night. Blood pooled beneath Lila's side as her hand weakly gripped the edge of the table. The gunfire had stopped, but Marcus's ears still rang with the echo of bullets. He crawled to her, frantic, pressing a kitchen towel against the wound in her abdomen. Lila, he said, panicked, stay with me. Her lips moved, but her voice was paper-thin. Vest stopped most, not all. Hold on. I'll get help. He looked around the wrecked safe house. The power was out. The door was blown half off its hinges. Glove box, she whispered. Truck. Apomorphine. Marcus scrambled outside. The feed store's parking lot was dark except for the moonlight bouncing off the shattered windows. The truck was still there, but the tires had been slashed. He reached the glove box, found a small med kit, and sprinted back inside. Lila was fading. He injected the morphine and pressed harder on the towel, trying to control the bleeding. You're not dying, he muttered. Not like this. You said you wanted to burn it all down. She gritted her teeth, eyes fluttering open. Then promise me, if I don't make it, you finish this. You're making it, Marcus said. But deep down, he was already grieving. They made it through the night. By morning, she was stable enough to speak, barely. I bought us a window, she said. But they'll know we're coming. Marcus sat beside her, holding her hand. What's in that compound, Lila? She stared at him, hollow. Hell. Marcus drove alone that evening, after fashioning a makeshift splint for the truck's tire. Lila insisted he leave her behind with a burner radio. If I slow you down, she dies. He kissed her forehead, whispered thank you, and drove toward the Mexican border. The closer he got to El Cenizo, the hotter the air became. The road narrowed. Dust blew across the windshield. The terrain grew more hostile. And then he saw it. A barbed wire fence stretched around a cluster of buildings deep in the brush. From the outside, it looked like an upscale treatment center. White buildings. Tidy gravel paths. a small fountain. But Marcus knew better. The sign read, "The Vale Wellness Center, a sanctuary for healing." There were cameras at every corner, guards at the gate. No patients in sight, only silence. He parked a mile down the road and went in on foot under cover of night, using terrain and shadows to inch closer to the compound's rear entrance. The files on Cole's flash drive had shown a maintenance tunnel, unmonitored. He found it under a collapsed shed. Crawling through filth and spiders, he emerged behind a laundry room. Inside, rows of industrial machines whirred with noise. No guards. He moved fast. Room by room, he crept through long halls, until he heard a voice. Faint, familiar, humming. He followed it. Down a hallway. Left. Another hallway. Right. Then, he saw her. Hannah. Or Sarah. She was alone, mopping the floor in what looked like a therapy wing. Her hair was tied back, her face pale and thin. She wore a beige uniform. Her eyes empty. "Sarah," he whispered. She dropped the mop, spun around, stared at him. "Marcus," she whispered, her voice cracking. He ran to her. She stepped back instinctively, afraid. "Is it really you?" she asked. He nodded, his chest heaving. "I found you," he said. Tears filled her eyes. "You shouldn't have come." Then the door burst open. A guard, gun raised. Marcus shoved Hannah behind him and ran for the nearest exit, dragging her through a side stairwell. They ducked into a supply room as footsteps stormed behind them. "Are there cameras in here?" he asked. "No. This is where they bring the new girls when they arrive." He checked the door. Locked it. "We have to get out," he said. "Now." She hesitated. "I can't leave yet." "What?" "There's something I have to show you." She led him deeper into the building, past the admin wing, through a maintenance corridor. "I've been hiding flash drives," she said. "Everything. Names, procedures, even footage. It's the only proof that will bring this place down." They reached a rusted electrical panel. Behind it, duct taped to the wall, were 3 tiny drives. She handed them to him. "Get these to someone you trust." "I'm not leaving without you," Marcus said. Then the building shuddered with a loud bang. An alarm blared. "They know you're here," she whispered. Suddenly, smoke filled the hall. Another explosion, closer. "They're burning it down," Marcus realized. "They're destroying everything." "Run," she said. But he grabbed her hand. "We run together." They sprinted through smoke and fire, Hannah guiding him through forgotten hallways until they burst out through the rear gate. Searchlights cut through the darkness. Shouts. Gunfire. They ran across the open field. A bullet grazed Marcus's shoulder, white-hot pain. He didn't stop. He pulled Hannah into the brush and crawled until they reached a road. A black sedan pulled up, headlights flashing. The window rolled down. It was Bridget. "Get in." They dove into the back seat. As they sped away, Marcus turned to Hannah. "You're safe now," he said, bleeding, breathless. But she shook her head. "No, not yet." Bridget dropped them at an underground motel 2 towns over. They patched Marcus's wound in silence. Then Hannah pulled out the final drive. "This," she said, "contains the guest list." "What list?" "The men who fund Cole. Senators, CEOs, judges. Names no one will believe unless they see it for themselves." Marcus swallowed. "So we leak it?" She nodded. "I've already sent copies to 3 journalists. If we go dark, they publish." Marcus exhaled, finally feeling the weight begin to shift, until his burner phone buzzed. One message. From Lila's number. "He found me." Marcus's stomach dropped. Before he could call, another message came in. A video file. He hit play. It showed Lila, bound, bruised, bleeding. Cole stepped into frame. "I warned you," he said. "But you couldn't stay away." He leaned close to the camera. "I want my property back. Both of them." The camera zoomed in on Lila's face. She whispered one word. "Run." Then the screen went black. Marcus looked up at Hannah. They weren't done yet. Cole wasn't finished. And now, they had less time than ever. Rain fell in heavy sheets as thunder growled low across the desert sky. The motel room smelled of iodine and fear. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the dark screen of the burner phone. Lila's bruised, bloodied face still burned in his mind. Cole had her, and he knew they had the flash drives. "We have to go," Marcus said, voice tight with grief and fury. Hannah didn't argue. She zipped up a weatherproof duffel and slid it toward him. Inside, burner phones, a USB splitter, a collapsible pistol, and a set of false IDs. "I kept these ready," she said. Just in case. Marcus nodded slowly. He wasn't the man who'd waited at the altar anymore. He was someone else now, someone Cole had created, someone who was ready to end it. They drove north for hours, through back roads and truck routes, finally crossing into Oklahoma, where an old contact of Lila's operated out of a rundown roadside chapel converted into a safe house. The contact was a man named Frank Delgado, a former DEA agent turned whistleblower who once faked his own death to escape a government kill order. When he saw Hannah, his eyes widened. "You're the girl from the Peters case," he muttered. "You were never supposed to surface again. And yet here I am," she said, "alive, and bringing hell with me." He let them in. Inside the chapel-turned bunker, Frank downloaded the contents of the new flash drives, frowning as he clicked through folders. "Jesus," he muttered. "This is bigger than I thought. Surveillance footage, email chains, bank transfers. These files don't just expose Cole. They expose the people who protect him." He turned to Marcus. "You realize what happens when this goes public, right? Cities will burn. People will die to keep this buried. Lila is going to die if we don't act," Marcus said. "And Cole will keep doing this. To more women. More families." Frank glanced at Hannah, then back at the drive. "Okay, then we leak it." He opened a dark web portal, rerouted through a maze of proxies, and uploaded the data to 5 mirrored dead drop sites run by international whistleblower groups. Then he scheduled it for release, in 48 hours, unless manually stopped. "Failsafe set," Frank said. "If anything happens to me, or to you, it goes live." "And what happens if they find us before that?" Hannah asked. Frank gave a tired smile. "Then we go down swinging." That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. Rain pounded the chapel roof. In the candlelight, Hannah sat across from him, knees hugged to her chest, staring at the old crucifix nailed to the wall. "I thought I could outsmart him," she whispered. "I thought if I just played along long enough, I could get Emily back." Marcus walked over and sat beside her. "You risked everything. I left you," she said, voice cracking. "I let you stand there, humiliated. I thought I could fix it all and come back to you later. Like nothing happened." He took her hand gently. "Whatever you did to survive. I understand now." "No, Marcus, you don't. He didn't just take my sister. He made me choose between her and you." Marcus stared at her. "What do you mean, choose?" Hannah wiped a tear away. "When I told him I wanted out, he said he'd release her if I left you at the altar and disappeared. He said the moment you found me, the deal was off. And now she's probably already dead." Marcus felt his chest split open. She'd walked away not because she didn't love him, but because she loved too much. At dawn, Frank burst into the chapel's side room, pale and sweating. "They hit one of the dead drop servers," he said. "They found our upload trail. It's only a matter of time before they triangulate us." "How long do we have?" Marcus asked. "Hours. Maybe less." Frank opened a floorboard and revealed a second escape tunnel. "I have a friend in Denver. She can get you both across state lines with new papers. You go now. I'll trigger the manual upload early if I don't hear from you in 12 hours. Marcus gripped Frank's shoulder. "Thank you." "Give him hell," Frank said. They left on foot through the underground tunnel, emerging in the woods 2 miles from the nearest road. From there, they stole a beat-up pickup truck from an abandoned barn and headed west, sticking to dirt roads and staying off the grid. But an hour outside Tulsa, headlights appeared behind them. Too fast. Too close. A black SUV. Then another. They were boxed in. Marcus slammed the gas pedal. "They found us." Gunfire erupted. The windshield spidered with cracks. Hannah screamed. Marcus swerved, the truck jolting across a gravel shoulder and crashing through a wire fence into a cattle field. The tires tore through mud. A cow darted in front of them, nearly flipping the truck. They skidded to a stop near a creek. "I'll draw them off," Marcus said, yanking open the door. "You take the drive. Keep running." "No," Hannah shouted. "Not without you." But he was already out of the truck, diving into the grass, sprinting toward the tree line. One of the SUVs followed him. The other stayed with the truck. A man stepped out. Cole. Cole moved with slow, careful steps, like a man savoring the end of a long hunt. He approached the driver's side. Hannah clutched the USB drive in her fist, her entire body trembling. "Sarah," Cole said, voice smooth. "It's over." She didn't answer. "I warned you," he said. "You made this messy." Still, she said nothing. Cole reached for the door handle. And that's when she raised the pistol. One shot. Then another. Cole stumbled back, blood on his shoulder. She opened the passenger door and ran. Behind her, Cole fell to one knee, then stood, laughing through the pain. "You'll never outrun me," he called. "You're still mine." Meanwhile, Marcus darted through the trees, zigzagging as bullets sliced through the brush. He made it to a ridge, spotted the SUV still chasing him, and jumped into a ravine, rolling hard and hitting his head. The world spun. When he opened his eyes, a boot landed beside his face. Cole's mercenary stood above him, rifle in hand. "No more running," the man said. Then, bang, the mercenary dropped. Behind him stood Hannah. Smoke drifted from her gun. She reached down, pulled Marcus to his feet. "You saved me," he murmured. "No," she said. "We saved each other." They ran until dusk, finally reaching a ranger station in the foothills. A young forest ranger, stunned by their appearance and bleeding wounds, let them use her satellite phone. Marcus called Frank. No answer. He tried again. Still nothing. Hannah stared at the phone, her face going pale. "He's dead," she whispered. Marcus nodded slowly. "Then we hit upload ourselves." They pulled out the drive, connected it to the ranger's laptop, and initiated the fail-safe upload. Data streamed to the mirrored servers, one by one. And then, a system alert. Upload blocked. Unauthorized countermeasure detected. Marcus stared at the screen. "They shut it down?" "No," Hannah said, pointing. The screen glitched again. This time, a video opened. Cole's face. Smiling. "Nice try," he said. "But you don't think I'd leave a digital door unlocked, do you? The files you have, they're fakes. You've been feeding the world a story I wrote." Marcus stepped back, horrified. "No." Cole leaned forward in the video, eyes gleaming. "Still think you can win, boy?" Then static. Then black. The laptop died. Silence fell over the room. Marcus and Hannah sat in shock. They had risked everything. They had killed. They had run. And they had lost. Unless the real files were somewhere else. Somewhere only one person knew about. Hannah turned to Marcus, trembling. "There's one more drive," she whispered. "Where?" She hesitated. "In my sister's grave." The grave was unmarked. Not in a cemetery, but in the dusty hills outside a shuttered treatment center that had long since burned down under suspicious circumstances. The place where Emily Peters, or whoever she had been in the system, was last seen alive. Marcus and Hannah arrived just before dawn. The ranger had loaned them a second vehicle, along with a shovel and a satellite beacon. "Call when it's done," she'd said. "I'll lie if they come looking." The air smelled like ash and dry earth. The soil was loose, forgotten. The fire had scorched away the last traces of the past. "This is where I buried her," Hannah whispered, staring at the blackened ground. "Cole never let me see the body. He said she overdosed. But I found her myself, 2 weeks later, half covered in dirt. No shoes. Wrist bruises. I couldn't prove anything. So I came at night and buried her here." Marcus looked at her with something beyond grief. "Reverence. You were just a kid." "She was my world," Hannah said. "He took her and then told me to forget. And I tried, until I couldn't anymore." She pointed to a bare spot beneath a crooked Joshua tree. There. They dug in silence. Each shovel hit was like a prayer, each heave a scream buried under the weight of too many years. Marcus's hands bled from splinters, but he didn't stop. Hannah trembled with every layer of earth they moved. Then the shovel struck metal. A small, rusted box. Hannah fell to her knees. "Please," she whispered, brushing off dirt with her bare hands. Inside was a flash drive wrapped in wax paper and sealed in a Ziploc bag. Alongside it, a locket. Inside the locket, a tiny photo of 2 girls, Emily and Hannah, laughing on a beach. Marcus took the drive. "Let's finish this." They returned to the ranger station that night, this time entering through the back. No lights, no radio chatter. They didn't speak until they were behind a locked door in the back room, with the ranger's laptop booted and plugged into a fresh satellite link. Hannah plugged in the drive. No video, no taunts, just files. Hundreds of them. Real surveillance footage. Testimonies. Transactions. A list of offshore sites. Names. Faces. GPS data. Coordinates of every single one of Cole's known compounds. And a full confession from a former doctor who'd worked inside the Veil. Marcus scanned the files, heart thundering. "It's all here." Hannah nodded, tears streaming silently. Emily died trying to get this out. And now it was in their hands. Marcus launched the failsafe again, this time bypassing the fake sites. Instead, he sent the files directly to Travis Kimball, the journalist who had helped him back in Chicago, and who had since gone dark after being threatened. Attached, a simple message. Publish immediately, or we're all dead. Then he pressed send. 12 minutes later, Travis replied, uploading now. Pray I live through this. The story exploded. Breaking news. Billionaire Cole Winters tied to human trafficking network. Exclusive. Leaked documents reveal U.S. officials involved in global abuse ring. Former patients speak out. We were never there to heal. By the next morning, the compound in Texas had been raided. 2 senators resigned. 3 others were subpoenaed. Interpol issued a warrant. And Cole Winters? Gone. Vanished. The last known footage of him was from a roadside gas station near El Paso, 2 hours before the story went live. After that, nothing. Marcus and Hannah didn't celebrate. They didn't sleep. They stayed hidden in a rental cabin in Colorado, watching as the world processed the horror that had been allowed to flourish in silence. Hannah's face wasn't in the news. Neither was Marcus's. Travis kept them anonymous, for now. But they both knew it couldn't last. They sat on the cabin porch one night, wrapped in a blanket, watching stars streak across a sky too big to understand. Is it over? Hannah asked. Marcus took her hand, gently. I don't know. She looked down. Sometimes I feel like if I close my eyes, I'll wake up back in that place. You won't, he said. I left you, she whispered. You should have hated me. I did, Marcus admitted. For a while. She leaned her head on his shoulder. And now, I'd still marry you. Right now? No altar. No dress. Just you. She laughed softly. It was the first laugh that didn't sound broken. 3 days later, Marcus got a call. Blocked number. He almost didn't answer. But something told him to. He picked up. The voice was calm. Mail. Not Cole's. You did good, Mr. Hale. The world owes you. Marcus didn't reply. The voice continued. But not everyone is pleased. Silence. You should both keep moving. Then the call ended. That night, Hannah came out of the cabin's bathroom and froze. Her locket was on the table. Closed. She hadn't taken it off. She hadn't opened it. And neither had Marcus. Her voice shook. Someone was inside. Marcus turned off the lights. Checked the windows. One of them was cracked open an inch. On the floor beneath it, a single item. A gold coin. With Cole's initials engraved on the face. Marcus picked it up, dread sinking into his bones. He's not done. Hannah stared at the coin. No, she whispered. He's just getting started. Snow fell in slow, deliberate silence, covering the Colorado forest in a soft white blanket. The cabin was dark, the fire cold, the windows shuttered. Marcus and Hannah had been gone for days. The gold coin had been the message they needed, and the final warning. Cole was alive. And worse, watching. They knew then what they had to do. They couldn't hide. They couldn't run. They had to end it. Using the information buried in Emily's final drive, Marcus and Hannah had uncovered one last lead, a site that had never appeared in the official documents, never been raided, never been spoken of by survivors. Site Epsilon. It was located deep in the Nevada desert, shielded by fake mining permits and guarded by ex-military contractors. The files showed it as the primary vault, the place Cole used to store his backups. His insurance, videos, DNA, ledgers, proof. If they destroyed Site Epsilon, they'd destroy not just the man, but the legacy. Every threat, every bribe, every whisper of power he'd ever used to silence victims. It was his Achilles heel, and it was time to cut it. They spent a week preparing. Hannah dyed her hair. Marcus shaved his beard. New papers, new aliases. Frank Delgado's contact in Denver gave them a fake truck, burner detonators, and a map to the desert perimeter. On a windless morning, they crossed into Nevada, their truck riding low with cargo they'd never planned to carry in their lives. Explosives. Enough to collapse a bunker. They didn't speak much. They didn't cry. They knew what had to be done. The facility lay beneath a fake sand quarry, hidden by industrial fences and security cameras disguised as birdwatchers' equipment. They parked 3 miles out, approaching on foot at dusk. A side entrance. Unwatched. Just like the blueprints said. Inside, it smelled of cold metal and old money. The hallways were sterile. The lights flickered faintly, underground generators humming like sleeping serpents. They moved quickly, silently, placing charges at key structural points. The archive room, the surveillance vault, the records lab. Then, a voice from the intercom. "Welcome back, Sarah." Hannah froze. Marcus turned. Cameras followed them now, slowly pivoting. "Did you really think I didn't know you'd come?" Cole's voice filled the space like rot in the walls. "You've been playing checkers. I invented the board." Hannah clenched her jaw. "Where are you?" Cole laughed. "I'm not there. I'm not stupid. But I'm watching. And I want you to see something before you die." A screen blinked on above them. Lila, alive, bloodied, but breathing, strapped to a chair in what looked like a boiler room. "I thought you'd appreciate one last choice," Cole said. "Either blow up the site, and she burns alive, or walk away. Save her, and let me keep everything." Marcus reached for the detonator. Hannah caught his hand. "I won't let him win again," she whispered. "Not like last time. He'll kill her. He'll kill everyone, Marcus. Over and over again, until there's nothing left but pain." The screen zoomed in on Lila's face. She looked straight into the camera and mouthed one word. "Do it." Marcus turned the switch, paused, closed his eyes, and pressed the button. The desert shook. Smoke rose into the sky like ash from hell's furnace. The bunker collapsed inward, steel and secrets imploding under tons of earth. The backup site, the last files, gone. The signal from the feed went dead. So did Cole's voice. For the first time in months, there was silence. They buried Lila in a quiet cemetery outside Albuquerque, under a willow tree. No name, no headline, just a smooth, black stone with the words. She made them listen. They left flowers. Hannah cried softly. Marcus held her hand. A week later, the manhunt for Cole Winters went global. The world now knew him as a monster, not a mogul. His accounts were frozen. His allies vanished. Several took their own lives. The balance of power he once held had been flipped on its head, but his body was never found. Some said he was dead. Others said he was regrouping. Hannah didn't care, because no matter where he was, he had lost. 1 year later, a small church in Oregon rang its bells just before sunset. Only a dozen people were there. No tux, no veil, just Marcus and Hannah, standing hand in hand before a wooden cross and an open window. The wind was warm. The past was still with them, but no longer haunting them. When the minister asked if she would take him, Hannah looked up at Marcus, tears shining in her eyes. "I already did," she said. They kissed, not as two people who had survived, but as two people who had won. Together, that night, as they danced barefoot under fairy lights and pine trees, a car passed the hill beyond the church. Just for a moment, inside sat a man in a dark coat, watching, unsmiling. He lit a cigarette, then drove away. The war was over, but somewhere, Cole Winters was still breathing.